Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad and today's sweet tea time. It's going to be more lemonade than sweet tea, but it is sweet tea time. If you're new to the channel, this is just Brad speaking to the camera. We're going to go through several slides, give you some information, give you some thoughts. Where is Brad coming from? If you don't know, I retired a few months ago. I live strictly off my distributions. So this is not theoreticals. This is not Brad trying to grow his account. You gotta have growth. This is Brad living in retirement, like real world. So when you say, oh, you should invest $1 million into Misty, I just want to laugh because Brad is not going to put his retirement and going to get a JOB because somebody wants to give me financial advice. That's right. People are giving me financial advice, and I sit there and go, wait until you hit retirement age and have to live off your distributions because you have no other income coming in because you don't have a job. I don't have a job. I do some YouTube videos. What I get paid is nothing. It's more for fun and entertainment for myself because it gives me something to do and get up in the morning. Everybody say hi to Frosty. He'll be around for the next month or so because I didn't put a Christmas tree up because not everybody celebrates Christmas, but everybody can celebrate Frosty unless you live in, like, I don't know, Africa someplace, or I don't know, Arizona. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I make fun of my Arizona friends? You can live up on Flagstaff and you would know Frosty. Anyway, so let's talk about, this is one thing I should say, not financial advice, legal advice, or tax advice. Definitely not tax advice. I hire a tax professional. Best money you can spend once you get over a certain threshold, in my opinion. If you're investing $500,000 or more, you should have a tax professional. Personal opinion. If you're taking distributions, you should have a tax professional. If you're doing anything else other than investing in your IRAs and 401ks and you're doing leverage, you should have a tax professional. There is financial advice that I'll say. You should have a tax professional if you're doing anything whatsoever with leverage and a taxable account, and especially if it's over $500,000, you should have a tax professional. ROC, I mean, you can go down a list of reasons you should have a tax professional. It's worth a couple dollars. When you have that kind of money, you will find the value of having a tax professional or tax avoidance person, because I call him tax avoidance because that's what he does for me. CPA, he avoids taxes for me or leads me through, ooh, we could do this and it'll save you $10,000 a year in taxes. I paid him $250. Well worth it. Well, it's more than $250, but a couple times a year. Anyway, let's get into it. So if you're a member, PDF will be loaded up so you can have all these slides at your convenience and you can go back and look at it whenever you choose to. 16 habits that are going to keep you poor. Smoking, alcoholism, overpriced coffee, eating out, bottled water, video game points. Hey, that is not my Clash of Clans friends, okay? Dr. Beatdown, that's not for you. Just saying, I do play Clash of Clans. Gambling, unless you're playing the ponies and you know what you're doing. Buying brand name clothing. I kind of disagree with that one, but okay. Better clothing, I can understand it. Having a couple good, nice shirts, having good shoes, I can understand all that. I have nice work boots. Needing the new iPhone, that one I can agree with. You don't need a new iPhone every single time it comes out. You can get one every 3 or 4 years and be just fine. Not canceling trials. I think everybody should have probably a subscription or 2 subscriptions. We rotate them. We rotate the subscriptions. So we'll do Netflix for a certain period of time. Then we'll do Hulu for a certain period of time. And then we'll do Paramount for a certain period of time. So we go back and forth. We try to keep those subscriptions down to a certain level so we know exactly what our expenses are. Other things that are going to keep you poor are not paying off your credit cards. You should never have credit card debt. And if you don't know, I put everything on a credit card. I pay it off every month. And it's not for the points. It is how I do my budgeting. Plain and simple. I know what I want to spend that month on my credit card. I stretch things out. I move things around. And that's how I do my budgeting. Unnecessary taxi rides. Okay. Who takes a taxi? I'm going to be Ubering on Monday because my vehicle is going to the shop. Got some brake issues. Well, ABS issues. I know what it is. And if I was 20 again or 30, I might take the adventure of changing out the ABS motor. But, no. Okay, I'm just going to go pay somebody to go change it out for me because that's not what I want to be doing. Lottery tickets. Buying OnlyFans. I don't even know what that is. That's I'm old. I do know what it is. No. Forgetting to look for discounts. If you're not using coupons or saving up for Black Fridays or any of that stuff, you are not going to get ahead in life. But maybe a little bit. Impulse buying. Just say no to clicking on Amazon. Say no. Do you really need it? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, here's a controversial. Home versus invest. You buy a $200,000 house. You have a $40,000 down payment. And you can run through the math yourself. You can have a house worth $500,000 30 years from now, or you could have $4.6 million sitting in a bank account. Now, they did not take out for rent, and that is a no-no. But you can find something for the right price at the right area and get away from that maintenance, personal property tax, insurance. I can tell you my apartment insurance, $160 is more than what I pay in a whole entire year for my apartment insurance. Just the math is the math. Now, I did have a big house. I had a huge house. I sold the house and went RVing for 5 years, lived on the road. Best part of my life. If you get a chance to go see all the national parks and go to places that you normally will not ever get to go to, take the opportunity. I did it while I was still working. I might do a little more RVing here coming up, living at the beach, but that's my lifestyle. I'm choosing to go do something that's going to be fun and enjoyable. Maybe I'll buy a condominium at the beach one day. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe I'll go to southern France for 3 months next winter. How about that one? Yes, we are looking into southern France for 3 months next year for the winter. Not this winter, but next winter. Maybe I'll be in southern France making videos for you and having fun in southern France or southern Spain. There's a lot of places that are southern, that are warm on the Mediterranean that I could go to and enjoy retirement. Buying that new car. This is always, all right. So personally, I always had a job, a job, for 1998. Since 1998, I always had a job that provided me a car. I had a free car. There is a whole tax thing about having a car that you can drive for personal use and how that gets taxed in, but it's nothing compared to actually having to buy a new car. There again, you buy a new car for $80,000, you put 10 grand down, you're paying $1,200 a month. 6 years from now, you can have $124,000 in an old car, or you can have, an old car. One of the two. It is personal preference. Now, I've always kept my wife in a fairly newer car and had it paid off. We ran it for multiple years and we always did very well at it. So that's, again, personal preference. But right now, I have no car payment. I have a nice Ram truck. Not very environmental and friendly since it's diesel. And I have a big diesel truck because I pull a RV. Moving condominium, actually. That's a totally different story. I don't know if you've been in any of these moving condominiums lately. There's no sacrifice of life standards. What is financial success? And this is something that you really have to sit back and think about. Because the boomers used to say, hey, if you're making $100,000, you're doing pretty good. You had $1 million in your bank account for retirement, you're doing pretty good. The Gen Xers, that would be me. You need $5.3 million. Well, Brad ended up being pretty close, but no, you don't need $5.3 million, and you need $212,000 in a salary. Well, hate to say this, that's not really realistic for a lot of people. It's not. That's not the average person. Maybe New York. Maybe if two people were working in LA, you would need that. But for most Americans, you don't need that. Millennials need $181,000 and $5.6 million for, again, they're not thinking. And then you got the crowd that thinks that the Gen Zers, you need $588,000 as a minimum annual salary and 9.5. Those are the people that have those OnlyFans channels. Just kidding. That was a joke. Don't get offended. But the average person makes about $64,000 and retirement looks at $1.1 million. Those are more realistic numbers. Should you be able to do better? You can. I feel that you can. I feel that two people working together, you should be able to make at least $100,000 a year because both of you are going to be making in the 60s. And again, you get those messy 20s and 30s and 40s. And they're messy. You have kids. I never regretted having a kid, ever. It is something that it's life fulfilling. We had lunch with her for Thanksgiving. We saw them again on Friday morning. And I never, ever regret having kids. Now, did she cost me millions of dollars? Yes. I mean, I sent her through business school. She went to a very large university, has a degree in finance, and I don't regret it. I paid every single penny. She has no student debt. That's a big task. That's a big ask of any parent today, especially of what colleges are charging. I mean, universities are charging way too much for what you're getting, but I gave her every advantage of life. And I know that's not possible for everybody, but if you can give your kids the best advantage they can, because the world is getting tougher and there is no free lunch for anybody. Just realization that not everybody has millions of dollars, and when you hit 57, like myself, can you really pull the plug and get away from working? I do YouTube videos. I enjoy it. It gives me something. It gives me a reason to wake up in the morning. If not, why get up? Why get out of bed? I don't know why I would get out of bed if I didn't have YouTube. Yeah, I would. I'd find something. So let's talk about the financial debt. The U.S. has to refinance this $7 trillion maturing in 2025. Why do you think the Fed is cutting rates? Because the Fed has to cut rates because they have to roll this debt. Anybody disagrees, obviously is not looking at the same chart that I'm looking at, because the interest payments will just kill us going forward. It is not the first time you've heard that from Brad, and it won't be the last time until, I don't know, 2026, when they decide to raise the rates because inflation's back and we're going to go hyperinflation. Not joking. I really think 2026, 2027, no matter who the president was going to be, we're going to end up going into hyperinflation, because they're going to lower the rates, like it or not, and refinance this debt at a lower rate farther out, causing an emergency so they can jack up. And it's going to be this seesaw that we're going to see for multiple years to come. Happens about every 4 years in this cycle. So the other day I said something about MSTR and Misty and Bitcoin and I don't know, Friday's video. So what everybody is, again, maybe not understanding is FASB. You know how they have to report Bitcoin on the books is totally different, and it changes December 15th. I'm assuming everybody knew this, maybe they didn't know this, but December 15th, MSTR is allowed to put $10 billion on their books. Yes, $10 billion magically just poof appeared, because they have been having to follow the FASB rules, and they change December 15th. I'm doing a video this week on Misty again, and I'll explain this in more detail, but obviously this went right over a lot of people's heads that FASB rules do not allow for Bitcoin to be on the books correctly. I mean, it's the way the rules were written, it's a negative, and they all change December 15th. So obviously people didn't realize this. Some people have made comments. People need to look up the FASB rules and why they changed December 15th, and how that magically is going to occur for people like Coin, MSTR, Square. December 15th. Why do you think Microsoft is now looking to put Bitcoin onto their balance sheets? Because the FASB rules change December 15th, and you should be aware of that. Just, there you go. Something for you to go research. All right, so when I look at Europe, Europe is dying. I don't know. Have you been to Europe? I love Europe. I love Europe. My wife's European, if you didn't know. So her family still lives there. Dad does not speak English. How about that one? So yes, Brad has a father-in-law that we can't speak together because neither one of us speak well enough of the other language to have a conversation. But yes, my wife is European, and Europe is dying. Besides maybe Germany and some of these other countries, you know, they're holding their own for gross domestic product, but you got countries that have negative GDP growth, and that's going to affect Europe. And why would you want to invest in Europe? Just a conversation. Don't know. Talk about investing. I had somebody ask me a question about recovery harvesting and doing this on certain funds. My comment is I look at total return -8. Please do not ask me to comment on other people's investment styles, because it always gets Brad in trouble. You can go look at this yourself in Excel. I did the back testing. I'm going to go throw my hands up and say certain months it works and certain months it doesn't work. But you need to do your own testing with your own thoughts. And the reason it didn't work, I'll just say this, the reason it didn't work was the market was literally down. It had nothing to do with the strategy. The market was down that month, so there was no way for it to recover. Okay, so If the market goes down 2 or 3% in a month, which happens, the market was literally down that month, this doesn't work. But hey, if the market's flat, like no growth, this works. And it worked well. So don't get me involved in other people's trading strategy. If you have a question about their trading strategy and they're a YouTuber, you need to contact them directly and not me. And this isn't the first one. I get 3 or 4 a week asking me to comment on other people's trading strategies, and I am not a trader. It's total return -8. Pick your poison. If you don't believe in total returns -8, that's your opinion. You can follow along because I talk about a lot of things that translate to other people's strategies and styles, but don't get me involved in trying to make me comment on somebody else's strategy so you can go to some Discord site and say, Income Architect said this, and I don't need the frustration. I really don't. Other people can have their own styles and it's just fine, and that's the way they want to do things. Don't get Brad involved. Brad talks about income factory stuff, CLOs, dividends, distributions, and stuff like that. Brad has decided on his rule of not reinvesting back into cover calls until it breaks the 50-day. And this is just because Brad is in retirement. Younger, I would be DCAing in. Continuing the drip or DCA or whatever strategy you choose to do, that is your decision. Brad is in retirement. Brad needs these funds today. These are what he's living on. I think people don't realize that when they tell me I need to invest $4 million into Misty. I don't get it. I really don't get why people would think that. Yes, Misty's a good investment. Personal opinion. No, Brad is not going to risk his retirement on a risky bet. And it is a bet. So Brad's going to use the indexes. This is the index for SPY SPX. It's above the 50-day. Brad's not reinvesting. Brad's going to say, let it ride. When it breaks, he'll start reinvesting back into the funds. He's going to take his 8% and he's going to take all the rest of it and put it into other funds. Currently, I'm building out CLOZ and BTCI. I'm looking at 2 or 3 other funds that I'll be building out. But right now, that's where my additional income is going to go build out. And why would I build out things with my extra income? Because next year, I want a pay raise. Only way for me to get a pay raise is either make more money off my current investments or my current capital or grow my capital base. It's going to be easier to grow that capital base. Just point it out. So the Russell and RDTE did the best this week. The Russell, looking at it, has a different profile. It really does have a different profile. I will say the Russell is poised for growth because the Fed is lowering interest rates. When the Fed lowers interest rates, the companies in the Russell 2000 become more profitable. They become more profitable, their price goes up. Simple economics. That is why you might consider the Russell to be the better player for now. I don't jump in and out. I own the Russell through NEOS. But if I was going to build something out, looking at the funds available, I would say RDTE is probably one of the better funds to be playing the Russell on if you're an income investor. Now, I will be doing a video in the next 10 business days on 2025 Brad's picks for the S&P 500, the Qs, and the Russell. Which are the best funds? Right now, if I was going to pick the the best fund for the Russell, I'm going to have to go with RDT. Although, I love NEOS. They're up. I just like how they function. I can sleep well at night. RDTE, I think you can too. But when RDTE takes the turn and this chart goes back to the red, RDTE is going to take a hit. It's going to be tough. But if you're willing to reinvest all the rest of the distributions and only take your 8, you're going to be just fine. And that's Brad's personal opinion, not financial advice. If I follow the NASDAQ is basically almost looking the same way as the S&P 500, but it does follow a different profile. And I'm going to be looking at these profiles to say, do I put my money back in? Do I not put my money back in? Right now, there's no reason for me to be buying additional FEPI, AIPI, QQQI. I'm taking all those distributions, taking my 8% so I can live, and reinvesting the other stuff into CLOs like Claws, very safe, triple Bs and double Bs, and BTCI, because I got a feeling BTCI or any of the Bitcoin funds may have some legs for the next who knows. I say they have legs for at least the next year. I personally think if you're taking your 8%, you'll be able to grab your 8% for a very long time, even if BTC goes back down to the floor, which right now the floor is right around that $70,000 range. So if you don't know, I am a Seeking Alpha affiliate member. Affiliate links down below. Black Friday sales are still going on. Feel free to click them. Use my affiliate links. By the way, most of this information I get is from Seeking Alpha. I use Seeking Alpha every single day. Without a doubt, I use Seeking Alpha every single day. My Yield Max challenge that I'm doing and my Round Hill challenge I'm doing, I have it in Seeking Alpha, so I can see exactly what's going on. I use the premium version. They have Alpha Picks. Clearly, Alpha Picks has done better than most. They're up 181% compared to the S&P 500, up 58%. Again, they're looking at different parameters, and it might be something that you choose to do. There's my comment on Seeking Alpha. You don't have to get it, but I'm sharing most of the stuff that I look at with free links, and I'm going to be posting the blogs or articles on the other channel, and you can go read them or you can listen to them at no charge. Really, it's not even monetized. You can no charge. Just trying to get you the information that I'm looking at. So right now we have holiday Black Friday trends. Looking good for the forecast. Looking good. Who knows? Hopefully this is what we get. I really do hope this is what we get. This would be a great trend for everybody. PCE came out. It was up 0.3 month to month in October. This is with expectation readings. Core inflation right now is at 2.8. But let's go ahead and say this. Do you believe them? It's the government. All right, that's sarcasm of the day. It's the government. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. Financial services still leads the leading sector. They're the highest month to month. And I look at that, they're the highest year to date. That's another one that you should be thinking about if you're playing the market that way. I do not play the market that way. That's not how I do it. But if you are doing it, might be something that you look into. What banks are surging? Looks like JP Morgan, Bank of America. You can look at the chart yourself, take your poison, and really it's JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs. They lead the way. Everybody else is, and as we all know, when the big banks fail, we're going to pay and bail them out anyway, so why not? Again, a little sarcasm. So Last month, growth equities experienced a rally. Okay, great. Value investment growth is still seems to be leading the way compared to everything else. All in growth. Mid cap and small cap growth. Remember, small cap, Russell 2000. I've been posting this up for a while now. So here you have it. Again, I'm literally showing you the information. I showed this the last 3 to 4 weeks. And you can see the growth falls into the Russell, in the Russell 2000. Not the Russell 3000, not the Russell 1000, but the Russell 2000. That's where the growth seems to be coming. Favorite subject matter. Favorite subject matter, as always, Bitcoin. And what I'm talking about is Dixie. I've said this on other videos. Dixie and Seeking Alpha uses the 2-year treasury. As you can see, the 2-year treasuries come down. You see the Dixie comes down. You see Bitcoin and S&P 500 futures goes up. Interesting concept. That's how it's working. They work inverse. This is what Seeking Alpha says. Not my chart, but you can see it. You can have an affiliate link for TradingView too if you choose to use it. I use the free version. Trump targets China, Mexico, and Canada with tariffs. Sorry, Canadian friends. We're going to tax your fuels, oil, and more. It's almost $500 billion, $500 billion. Whatever. Mexico, again, cars, trucks. I get it. China, everything else. Really, that's not really that big when you start thinking about it. 0.55 trillion. Again, these are not huge tariffs, but it is tariffs. It's not new taxes on you and I. We have a rate cut coming up on December 18th, right before Christmas. It's right now at 66%. That's what the Fed Trend Tool says, 66%. I'm going to put my tin hat on, and I'm going to say, yes, we're going to have a 1/4 point rate cut. That's what we're going to have. That's my personal opinion. I think it's going to be a 1/4 point. I do not think that we're going to have a half. I know that it's probably not going to go back up, but I think we're going to get a 1/4 point because we're going to have to start refinancing that debt in the near future. Here's Brad's joke of the week. How much does it cost to protect tech CEOs? I've ran around with a couple CEOs and their private security details, and they do spend some money on these private security. I mean, yes, Brad got to go some of these CEOs, not in technology, more on the industrial side. So $23 million for Mark. Google, $6.8 million? Really? Elon Musk is at $2.4 million. I can see that. I also saw a picture the other day, not that long ago, where Bill Gates was standing in line to get a burger at a burger joint late at night. I'm sure that he has private security with him, just because. But really, we're spending a lot of money, and you got to look at, do you really have to spend that kind of money? I mean, the CEO of Apple, it's $800,000, and I can get that. A lot of these CEOs fly around in private jets. I know the companies I worked for, all the CEOs were allowed to use the private jet. They used the private jet for vacations. They used the private jet for business. They were allowed to take their family on the private jet, and the company paid for all that. They also had their own medical insurance, different medical insurance than the employees, different financial advisors than the employees. I tend to disagree with that a little bit. If they have financial advice, we should have financial advice. They should not be getting different financial advice than the average guy. Just saying. Personal jet or company jet, I can understand. I can understand going through the airports I did a lot of corporate traveling. I can understand that. I mean, I used to fly first class a lot with some of my companies just because I flew enough to get upgraded. And we would fly to LAX, and I'd be sitting next to somebody, and I don't know who they were. Maybe I should have took a selfie with them. I don't know. We get to go off the jet. They go to the left, down to the tarmac, get put into a Tesla, and whooshed away. And I go up the ramp and have to deal with everybody else. Who they were? No clue. I didn't meet Bill Murray. Sat next to Bill Murray from where I lived actually today. And flew to LAX, sitting next to Bill Murray. He was in for a baseball game. And we got to sit next to each other. Didn't even talk. I said hi to him. Had a couple words with him later on as we were getting ready to land. But we mostly slept because it was an early flight. And I used to fly into LAX and I'd be there at 7 a.m. So I could be out and about working at 8 o'clock. And that's the way that life was. But Bill Murray went through the regular channels just like everybody else when we got off the plane. But I got to meet a lot of people that went to the left and down to the private Tesla and wished away across the tarmac. Who they were, no clue. CEOs, CFOs, Hollywood people, I don't know. TikTokers. I think the one girl was a TikToker. I don't know. She looked like a TikToker. She couldn't have been over 20, but she got wished away to the left. Anyway, that's Brad's sweet tea for the week. Not Brad's sweet tea, but one last thing. Earnings calendar coming up. You got the JOLTS report coming out on Tuesday. Kroger. I don't follow Kroger, even though Warren Buffett owns Kroger. I don't follow the rest of them. Just a calendar that's coming out. And that's going to be it for this week's Sweet Tea. Comments below. Again, don't ask me to comment on somebody else's trading strategy. It doesn't get us anyplace. It only gets Brad frustrated because they'll do a video and say how bad Brad is, and Brad doesn't need that. That's not professional. One, it's not professional. I will go out and say that. It's not professional that somebody else criticizes somebody else's trading strategy. Hasn't happened recently, but hey, it's great. But it's not professional. And I want to be a little more professional, and I don't need to get into he said, she said. So don't ask me to comment on other people's trading strategy. Total return -8. You should be able to live on 8%. Until next time, God bless.